YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, back on Total War Rome 2 with some more Rome 2 online action. This is going to be a fun match. I went to quick battle because I wasn't finding any, I played a couple of multiplayer battles just off the list, and I wasn't really kind of getting the matchup that I want. The players that are playing kind of, I don't know, they're playing in a way that, even though I was kind of bringing some junky armies, they were fairly easy to take down. So I didn't want to show you that because a lot of you just think that I go on and try and take on easy people and then show it to show off. I don't. Then I went into quick battle really not expecting to find anybody because quick battle doesn't usually have folks, and I ran into this guy here. He recognized me because I never change, even though I change my name online just for kicks, I don't ever change the profile picture, so it's pretty easy to recognize me. And he recognized me, said hi, so I said hello, and he reminded me that he played a Suebi versus Athens battle against me a long time, and I remember that. If I remember right, he chewed my Athens army up pretty bad with the Suebi, so it was a fun match. And he wanted to play me this time. He asked if we could play the Use It, Lose It tournament rules. That's the tournament I've been watching a lot of the matches on over on Dr. Maximus's channel. And so I think he was pretty pleased with me giving him an honorary degree from Athar's management. Anyway, so yeah, I've been watching on his channel. So Use It, Lose It is a tournament where they have a certain rule set that's in place, which is max 4 the same unit. So let me go demonstrate this so it makes sense, so that you all know what we're getting into before. So max 4 the same unit would mean I can't bring any more than 4 Wolf Warriors or 4 Berserkers. So that's the max 4 the same unit. The next level of those rules is a max 8 melee infantry, so anything falling under the melee infantry category. And so that basically limits the crazy sword strong factions. That's the idea, is that they better choose their swords wisely rather than just spamming them out. And it lets factions that have good spear units come out to shine a little more. So yeah, and then max 14 infantry in total, so you can't just go straight infantry spam, you can still come infantry heavy. And foot skirmishers do not count as infantry, and there's like a max 5 horse archers rule too, which is gonna make it trickier for the step factions as well, I'm sure. And that may not apply to them either. But anyway, once you use a faction in this tournament, you lose it. Now, I am not playing in that tournament. This is just a replay where I caught the guy in quick battle and we wanted to use the rules, and I actually really enjoyed the rules. Had a fun battle. I think you all enjoy this too. Suebi are actually a pretty interesting faction under that rule set. The rules, because the other factions can't tank out quite as many swords, or they have to be more careful about the swords they choose, the Suebi could potentially be more powerful. So I've got me a big spaghetti barbarian rush here, so I'm spread out very wide because I need to cover a huge swath and to make sure that my opponent can't get around me. I've got, and I'll explain my strategy here in a minute, I've got 3 Celtic tribesmen up front. These are very awful spearmen, awful. The only thing that they have are precursors that'll be useful. I've got 4 of the MLG freemen. These guys are great, as opposed to the Celtic tribesmen. I've got 4 tribal warriors, 2 on each flank. And then up the center, I've got 3 Oathsworn. I'm going to put my strength in the center. And behind them, I've got 2 more of my levy freemen, so I've got 4 in total. So I do have 14 infantry. I've got 2 mercenary Thracian peltists, which are an interesting tool that Tylis has access to. And I've got 4 raiding horsemen. These guys are pretty decent Jav Cav. If they had the elite Javelin, they'd be even more dangerous, but they're pretty darn good Jav Cav. Now, for the Suebi army over here, we've got some Spear Levy guarding each flank. It's a good choice. Spear Levy's a nice cheap unit, kind of like a Levy Freeman. Up front, he's got 2 Club Levy backed up by 2 Bloodsworn, backed up by a Wodenaz Spear General. Now, these units in and of themselves do not seem that threatening. The Club Levy are probably not that threatening. They're more of a meat shield. These Bloodsworn, however, if they get a hold of a Ariovistus General, which you have here in this Wodenaz Spear, so if they get a fast charge, they can be pretty dangerous. So the Bloodsworn are also going to be helping to block for the Wodenaz Spear General. So for really the main infantry line, he's got Wodenaz Spear, Berserker, his Wodenaz Spear General, another Berserker, and he does have some Sword Masters here too. So there's a Sword Master. So basically his guys are going to be lighter weight. The Wodenaz Spears, as you all saw in Blade Master's recent replay he submitted, lightweight now after the patch 17 that actually changed in patch 17. They're very fast. They're good at catching horsemen. They're extremely good at killing horsemen. And when they get into a shield wall, they have very high melee defense. They still, you know, they don't have the punching power of a sword unit, but they're a pretty darn good attack for a spear unit. They're not cheap, but they are not vastly expensive. If used properly, they can be a very good unit, like you all saw Blade Master. So let me explain my tactics real quick. Why do I have the terrible Celtic tribesmen in the center? All I want these guys to do is throw a volley of javelins into any charging units and then die. And they are there to absorb fast charge, so that my Oathsworn do not absorb fast charge, because they're going to actually be in quite a bit of danger versus the Suebi, because their charges are so powerful. This is a wide open map, there's nothing else to block it. I accidentally bring a mercenary Thracian Peltist up here. This was supposed to be a raiding horseman. I accidentally selected the wrong unit. I have no idea why I'm charging with that, but you're going to see me here. I'm going to bring in some raiding horsemen. Smash his club levy in the center. He starts chasing me on the flanks with his Germanic Scout Rider. He's got 3. Yeah, I didn't even mean to do this. I just charged my mercenary Thracian Peltist in, but because of their heavy weight, they actually did better than I thought on the charge. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm going to pull all these units out. This was just to break up his initial charge, and to hopefully throw him off balance a little. So again, now you can see my Celtic tribesmen getting to throw all their javelins. Actually getting any kills for a Celtic tribesman is a big accomplishment. And they are going to get a few kills because of their javelins. I pull my other units back. That was so stupid. Charge the mercenary Thracian Peltist. What a waste. Anyway, he's going to get into my tribal warriors over here with the spear levy. I did not get a counter charge. It's fine. The spear levy is not a big worry. But as you can see, we got some Wodenaz spears already coming in the center too. And basically, now is my opportunity. My Celtics are about to rout, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my Oathsworn into combat here in a moment. And I just... as he charged me with his Germanic Scout Riders in melee, I went ahead and just charged back, because I believe my raiding horsemen should win that fight in melee. So rather than just running away, I just took it. Yeah, see here, I actually take a charge from the Wodenaz Spears and the Club Levy. Not exactly ideal for me, but my charge is going to get a lot of kills too. I'm going to try and get my Oathsworn into Shield Wall as soon as possible. This leaves me wide open to a Bloodsworn charge here. I don't see any Ariovistus coming from the Suebi just yet. In the center, the engagement's going to go pretty well for me. My general, though, I'm going to have to be careful because there's now Berserkers and Swordmasters moving in, so my general is in trouble. This is why I brought the Thracian Peltist right here. I'm going to kill the Suebi general with them. Even if it kills my own guys, I don't care. I'm going to snipe the Suebi general. I feel like if I can take him off the field, I'll be in good shape. Tribal warriors are very tanky, defensive sword units. Best when you fight with them in shield wall. The Spear Levy is going to get murdered. The Swordmasters will win that fight. But because my guys are very heavy, they're going to actually do pretty well in the charge versus the Swordmasters, who are only medium. In general, those Swordmasters would win that engagement. So over here, Swordmasters getting tied down between a Tribal Warrior and a Levy Freeman. It's doing quite well in combat, actually, because of bad charge that I took there. In Spear Wall, or in Shield Wall over here, 84 melee defense and 102 armor on the Tribal Warriors. Yeah, here in the center, you can see the enemy general. He's just used Pride, and this is going to give him huge armor-piercing damage, which is going to be quite deadly versus my Oathsworn. It's going to be very nice, actually. His Berserker's going nuts over here. Wodenaz Spear here getting respectable 63 kills. But now there's a gap in the line, and I can take my Thracian Peltist through it. I can throw javelins into the back of the Wodenaz Spear General, or I can charge. Now, rather than just get rear charged, he knows I'm in shield wall here, so he pulls the Wodenaz Spears loose because they're fast. He's going to chase my Peltist. I came out of Spear Wall, and I gave attack orders, but my Oathsworn just would not follow. The Suebi General just died, so now the Suebi are going to be feeling the effects of the General dying, and it's going to help me out a lot. Now the Berserkers won't, because of course they're high on mushrooms and they're not ready to give up. So my Tribal Warriors over here taking a pretty good shellacking, honestly, from the Wodenaz Spears and the other units around. You can see that my raiding horsemen did win the melee fight, and now I've got Tribal Warriors over here, though, that did very well. You can see I did not get them into a shield wall. I should have. That was a mistake. My general is not dead, even though he's down to 25 men, which is extremely fortunate for me. I've got another Oathsworn that's got 42 men that's free. I'm going to come over here and try and help free up my general. Yeah, he's wavering from casualties sustained, but again, the general's not dead. It was a pretty miraculous circumstance for me. Very, very handy. The Suebi have 2 Wodenaz spears and a Swordmaster. The Swordmaster is chasing a Levy Freeman, and I'm going to try and put a couple of javelins in the back of it. I just want to pull the Swordmaster away from the fight so I can do this. That way I can bring my Oathsworn into these Wodenaz spears. I want my Oathsworn to kill as many of these Wodenaz spears as I can get a hold of. And they're going to do quite a bit of damage there. So yeah, I wanted the Swordmaster away from my Oathsworn, was really what I wanted. And now I can pick at it with my Mercenary Thracian Peltist. These guys are getting a few kills with their javelins. We lured the rest of the Suebi general unit out here and killed it. So my Thracian Peltist did a good job in killing the Suebi general. Otherwise, the Suebi general probably would have busted through the center. And then I was very fortunate again to have my general survive, but I've got these 2 Oathsworn units now that can pull over here, and 2 tribal warriors that are in very good shape that are going to come over. This tribal warrior is doing what actually that's the Oathsworn, my bad. My tribal warriors on this flank lost to the Wodenaz spears and the other units. So over here, this Oathsworn though is doing very well, 205 kills. There were some longbow hunters and Germanic slingers. What was left of my cavalry mopped them up, so my cavalry did a good job here of keeping his cavalry out of my back lines, and then I was able to get some Cimbri bowwomen and a couple of units of other skirmishers, a longbow hunter, and you can see here he's going to pull the Wodenaz spears away from the shield wall. Again, it's a good move. This is the kind of stuff you should do. And the Wodenaz spears are going to get over here and murder what's left of my cavalry very easily. They excel at this. Over here, the Swordmasters are going to take a charge from my Tribal Warriors. Again, Tribal Warriors are going to do okay on a charge versus the Swordmasters because of the weight class difference. Otherwise, you would expect that the Swordmasters, and they probably still could win the charge. I'm just saying the Tribal Warriors would do better than they normally would back when the Swordmasters were a heavy sword unit. Over here, he's going to keep chasing what few cavalry I have left. My Oathsworn are going to keep following. I was kind of typing a few messages back and forth. He wasn't real happy with the way that he microed his troops here, and was telling me that he felt like Suebi was the better faction under this rule set, and I could see how they could be in the right scenario. I mean, you saw that on one flank, my Tribal Warriors did not end up performing that well. On the other flank, they did end up performing fairly well. So I mean, I could see how the Suebi, with a few little changes here and there, could have flipped this battle around. I think for me, a couple of the important things that I was able to do to gain control enough to pull the battle out, his cavalry really couldn't get through my cavalry, so when he came out and engaged me with his own cavalry, I think that kind of worked in my favor there. Although I accidentally used 1 Thracian Peltist to do it, it should have been my other cavalry unit. That was a mistake. My little charge up the center knocked out a lot of his club levy, which is, you know, losing meat shield is important in a barbarian on a barbarian battle, and it's because of the charges that take place. Cheap units getting a few kills on the charge can end up being a big difference in the battle. If we just take a look at some of the units, a couple of my Tribal Warriors performed okay-ish. My general did okay. He was facing some pretty stiff odds. He got hit by a Berserker and a Wodenaz Spear. And I don't know if the Wodenaz Spear he was fighting actually got pride applied to it. I know the general for the Suebi did have pride. Mercenary Thracian Peltist here, very clutch. They sat in the center where they're going to be safe, and you saw how they were throwing javelins in and slowly killing. Now, it was not optimal because I was throwing them into the back of my own men. I could have moved a little bit and probably killed the general a lot faster, so I could have done better there. But I think that the idea here is sound. These units that he's brought to skirmish are good. They probably couldn't kill the Thracian Peltist fast enough to keep them from doing extreme damage to his general unit, and if he doesn't bring his general forward and engage, they can also be in trouble. These guys are also very good for shooting a gap in the enemy line and getting a rear charge. They're very nice in melee after they've expended their javelins, if you can get rear charges in. So the Celtic Tribesmen, getting this many kills on these guys is great. Obviously, I just launched a couple of volleys of javelins, and that's all I need them to do. Levy Freeman, of course, always being useful, a couple of them even surviving the battle. In general, it was a close battle. It was definitely fairly close. I ended up winning somewhat decisively at the end, just because I came out of it with more of these heavy sword units. So I would say that what Tylis has in this matchup, let's go take a look at the matchup. Like I said, I can totally see my opponent's point of view about the Suebi being potentially a better faction under these rules. But if we go look at the matchup, I would rather take Tylis into battle under this rule set. And the reason I say that is because I feel like Tylis is less maintenance when it comes to micromanagement. My units are more heavily armored. They're heavier in mass. They all have shield wall. I feel like it's an easier faction for me to use. The Raiding Horsemen are a good solid pick. And the Thracian Peltist are a great general sniper, just a great general sniper. So I would rather have Tylis in this matchup, but the reason he's saying that is because when I'm limited to 8 swords, normally you could come in and just crush the Suebi with something like this. 4 Oathsworn and 4 Tribals, that's going to be really hard for the Suebi to overcome if we put it in large funds. That's a pretty stout sword core. It's also a very expensive sword core. You can see that you can't afford a whole lot else, but that's the beauty of Levy Freeman. So there you go. I've only got 12 infantry. The danger of this build is that when you bring the extra Oathsworn, I can't afford the general sniping unit, but you do get an extra Oathsworn. I wouldn't have any skirmishers, so it'd be a pure rush. That's why, in the end, I decided rather than bringing 8 of these crazy good swordsmen, I felt pretty confident about having 3 Oathsworn on the field. That's going to be hard enough for Suebi to deal with. Not impossible, but hard enough. So I cut the extra Oathsworn, chipped in another Celtic tribesman, so now I have a solid long meat shield line so that hopefully my Oathsworn get less charges in their face. And then that's where I was able to drop in the 2 Thracian warriors. So that's why I went that route. I think with the Suebi, the Wodenaz Spear is a very good unit. It's a light spear. It's not going to like getting charged, but if you can get a charge with it on an already engaged unit, it gets pretty good armor piercing damage. It's not the same elite spear like I thought it was the other night. It's not the same elite spear that's on like a Spartan hoplite. It's only 6 AP instead of 8, but that's still better than a sword's AP damage. And again, when you put these guys into shield wall, their defense goes up, I think, like almost up to 100 or something. Combine it with an Ario Vistus General, and when you put Pride on these guys, they are very good. They are definitely a solid unit. They encourage other units, which is very important. They have expert charge defense, which can be important. And they also have cavalry counter tactics. So in late game, these guys are going to be able to hold their own versus remaining cavalry a lot better than, say, a sword unit would. And they come at a much lower price than a sword master. So they can be quite useful. I mean, if you just look at the rest of the Suebi units, the Suebi are going to struggle because none of their units, I don't think, are heavy. Let's check out the round shields. No, medium. Yeah, no, almost no unit is heavy. Even the spear wall is a light unit, which is interesting. So everything for the Suebi comes light and fast, basically. That's the way it goes. And even if you look at their noble riders, they're only heavy. They're not very heavy. So definitely interesting stuff. And yeah, in melee, Germanic scout riders are pretty good. They're just not quite as good as the... I don't think they're quite as good as the Raiding Horsemen. They're not. The Raiding Horsemen have a little bit better attack. I'd have to look at all the other stats. But anyway, I think it'd be an interesting matchup between the two. Suebi definitely have better skirmishers. There's no question there. 40 damage on the Longbow Hunters is quite good. Cimbric Bowwomen have a 2-handed spear and 150 range. Definitely better. And Germanic Slingers, these are probably some of the most cost-efficient skirmishers in the game when it comes to dealing with other skirmishers. Long range, their shield has a ridiculous missile block chance. So anyway, interesting match between these two under those rules. If you want to see more about the Use It, Lose It tournament, I don't know who all is uploading it. I know Maximus is, so go check out Maximus Decimus Meridius. He's uploading those if you want to see some of them. Definitely fun battles to watch in the Use It, Lose It tournament because, again, the players can only use the faction once, and then they have to opt to another one. So it's not just like a constant Rome, Bowie, Tylis spam. They have to try and save those factions for when they will need them most, so most players are trying to use all the different factions early on. I mean, I even saw Pergamon in one of his videos of all things, so you're going to see interesting matches. Go check him out. Lots of good watching. HeirofCarthage signing off for now. Appreciate my opponent for the good game. He destroyed me last time. I guess we're even, and if I meet him again, we'll see who takes the balance. Probably him, but we'll wait and see what happens. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.